The Foundry. Old, gray, and metal to the core.
Hey, welcome to the Brutally Delicious Podcast and The Foundry. I'm Bruce Moore.
And I am Nyk Eddinger, vocalist for Frost Like Ash. Would just encourage you to like and subscribe if you're enjoying these reviews. We do reviews a little bit different. Each of us pick a heavy metal review to do, and then one of us each episode gets to choose a non-metal release for us both to listen to and react to. So if you have any suggestions, definitely comment below, but also share as much as you can.
Right, and tell us what you think we're doing well, what we think we're doing not well, if we suck, whatever it is. I just want to hear some feedback, so it'd be great. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and let you start because this was your week for the double pick. So why don't you go ahead and introduce your first one here? And then
so this is my heavy one. I'm not 100% sure how to pronounce this. Månegarm is what I'm going with. And the name of the album is unpronounceable.
Yes.
So it's something along the lines of Ynglingaättens Öde, maybe, possibly.
But it's the newest one if you're listening and you want to go find it.
Yes, the latest release. It is Swedish Viking metal. And this is the first I've actually listened to them, surprisingly. They've been going at it for 24 years. This is album number 10.
Wow.
And how I've just come across this, I don't know. But for me, I would say don't let the Viking metal label dissuade you from listening to it. What did you think about the influences they may have or what their style or genre was?
So I'm going to first say that I have heard these guys around and I've definitely probably have some stuff in my inbox, but as you know, I can't always get to everything. So I've actually never listened to them either until you said it. So I'm coming at this brand new as well. And as a semi-black metal fan, I like some of it that you've thrown my way. I definitely thought this was fun. I thought there was a lot of death metal influences. And I'm going to go out there and you probably know more than me, maybe some a bath, however you pronounce it, some influences, especially with like the grunts or those death metal grunts. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I could see the Viking influence. I think it probably has progressed over the years to where it was very Viking oriented at the beginning, and maybe it's progressed over the years, but also folk, and just like Corporate Klani, we had a couple months ago or a few weeks ago. And then, like you said, there is definitely black metal influences that you can hear. There's one song in particular that reminded me very much of Saturnine.
So are you talking about Vita Vetter?
Yes.
Yeah, see, I'm starting to learn myself.
I think so, yeah.
So when you talk about folk metal and Viking metal, I think it starts off, or at least for me, it started off that way with track 1, Friar's Blood. I don't know how to pronounce that. It's 10 minutes, but in my notes here, I mean, it bangs out of the gate for sure. But then it got galloping, and I was sort of reminded of Amon Amarth influences for sure.
Yes. Yeah. Which I suppose they are the consummate Viking metal band, but
right. I mean, it's epic
metal too, right?
And it's very epic too, and it's got this sense of epicness, I guess, and it's folky. And Amon Amarth was the first thing I could kind of reference it to, at least in the beginning there, at least that song.
That song seems to be a little different than the rest of the songs, and that's one thing about this is that as you go on, the songs are not super repetitive. Right. They have different sounds. They incorporate different things within them. They have entirely different musical themes at different points. Just some fantastic melodies.
Right. Well. So even in that second song, again, unpronounceable, but violin intro, nice and mellow, it's beautiful and melancholic. And then all of a sudden there's like this crazy pummeling of death metal, black metal. I don't know what you call it. Extreme metal, I guess it's the best way.
Yeah, you never know what's coming next. Many of the songs are very, very memorable for me.
Right.
I found myself, humming and whistling a few of the melodies throughout the week.
Yes.
As I was listening to it, and I was like, "Where did I hear that?" This was it. So that it's always good when something like that happens. So what were your top picks?
So my top pick for sure was number 5, Strids Galton. I'm guessing I'm gonna say. I love the didgeridoo doing it. I thought it was sort of. This is gonna sound terrible in a black metal review, but sort of bouncy. Mm-hmm. And I think I did some research in it, and that's Jan, right, in there.
It is.
Yeah. So that was another weird circular thing that we've got going on. But yeah, I thought that was Jan in there as well. So that whole song stood out to me as, well, definitely by far my favorite. But I also liked, 1 and 2, and maybe because I'm more of the death metal Amon Amarth sort of thing than the full on black metal assault. That's more your wheelhouse, right?
Yeah, absolutely. My top picks were Friar's Blood, which was the first one we talked about. Edel's Fall was also great. And this one I'm not going to say very well, but Hagkomst av et Liv.
Oh, yeah, towards the end, right.
Yep, that is the second to last song. And then, but my top pick, I couldn't honestly split it up. Ensnara of Guld and Ons Sonar. Those are the two. Actually, I think one of those is the one that reminded me of Satyricon a little bit.
So that other one, the first one you said, Unsnar, however you pronounce it, that's a slower one, right?
It is.
Almost
both of those are slower. Yeah, that's the one that really caught into my head. It's a slow,
but it still drives.
Mellow song. Yeah.
I think it's very, it's definitely a driving song for sure, but it's definitely at a slower pace.
Yeah. Overall, I really enjoyed this album. I listened to it quite a few times, and I think it's something that anybody who really likes extreme metal can find something in this album that they'll enjoy.
I think so too, and I'm sort of sorry that I came to them this late in the game, but there's so many bands out there, it's almost impossible to. And that's another reason I love this show, because you're turning me on to all kinds of stuff. Now to my pick, and yes. I don't know how to pronounce it. I think it's a Legion, but however you're going to pronounce it, Allegaeon, however you said it, Damnum is probably it definitely is my favorite album of the year, and it's heads on going to be my favorite album of the whole year, I think.
Really?
Oh, it is. I love this record. And I know I sent it to you, hadn't heard of them, but it's a beast of a record for sure. And there's so much to it. And I think it's one of those records that the more you listen to it, the more you go, holy cow, I didn't hear that. Or wow, they did that. But it's, I guess, death metal or extreme metal, but it's got everything in it. I mean, you've got pianos and clean vocals and heavy vocals and all kinds of acoustic guitars and flamenco stuff, and it's powerful.
I think powerful is the right word. I would call it melodic death metal.
Yeah.
But there's definitely some metalcore in there, and maybe that's from, they've been around a while too, haven't they?
This is album number 4. Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe from earlier on in their days, they still have that sound. But like you mentioned, because of all the instrumentation, I felt they were very progressive. At times as well. This is a heavy, and these guys are not afraid to do whatever they want.
No.
And the thing is that every single thing they do is of great quality. So they don't do anything poorly.
And they're players. Holy cow, can they play?
Yeah. Yeah. The vocals, death metal, but they had some really quick fire style, vocal style at times that I really enjoyed, because that's
almost like Cannibal.
Hear a lot.
Yeah, it's almost like Cannibal, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So full disclosure, over the years, I've become really good friends with Riley, the singer, through the podcast and through 70,000 Tons of Metal, through a bunch of stuff we've done. And we had a whole conversation with him about this record a couple weeks ago. And if you look at the title, Damnum, it's a Latin word for loss, hurt, harm, or damage. And the whole album was inspired by a really good friend of the band committing suicide and them finding the body and having to clean up the mess and that whole thing. And that's where the inspiration from the record comes. And I think you can feel that in songs like Coming Home. I mean, it's just unbelievable. I get the chills listening to it, even before I knew what it was about. It's so powerful and connectable, if that's a word.
Yeah. To Carry My Grief would be another
oh my goodness.
One.
I like
the Dopamine.
Yes. So Dopamine 2 is probably my favorite of the two, but they're both great. I don't think there's a bad record on this album. And if I'm going to pick my favorites, definitely Called Home. Like I said, that was the first one that resonated with me. And it just was like, it sunk into me. But I also like A Beast and Worms, which I think was their first single. And then Vermin. Vermin is so good.
Yeah, I have. I ended up picking technically 4 for my picks. Into Embers, Vermin is one of those, and then I included both Dopamine Voids 1 and 2 because they seem to kind of fit together. I'm not sure why they split them up, but so I put them both together. So, but my top pick is Saturnine. That one to me like has the best of everything that they do, all wrapped into one song, and it is just so powerful.
So this
is an album I had to listen to.
Yes,
probably 5 or 6 times to just wrap my head around it.
Yes, it's very, very thick and it's very deep and it's very powerful. And I will tell you that on top of being, one of my favorite albums of the year, I have had the opportunity to see them a bunch of times. But quick little story, I saw them on 70,000 Tons of Metal and they were in this little tiny theater. I mean, tiny, maybe a couple hundred. But it got so packed. They must have packed in 1,000 people in that place that night.
Oh my gosh.
It was probably the best show I've ever seen in my life. And we goof about this all the time. They were people were tearing ceiling tiles down from it was absolute insanity. And they were so on fire and it spilled out into the lobby of the cruise ship. It was absolutely insane. These guys are the real deal to me. I love this band and this record.
And can you imagine that scenario with these songs being played?
No.
I mean, I don't know how you walk out of there. These songs are just they're so powerful.
Yes.
It's pretty amazing.
And it was really interesting, talking to him and having him explain how these lyrics were and how he was breaking down in the studio singing recording the vocals to Coming Home or any of some of those other ones. I mean, he said it was a physical response to the lyrics and putting it out there. And you could see it in the album. You could feel it.
Vocally, he had just fantastic. He has fantastic control over his voice, and you can't sing that rapid fire death metal without just amazing lungs.
Right, some training.
Yeah.
So anyway, I know I've talked a lot about it. I say go get this one if you can, because definitely my odds-on pick for the end of the best album of the year.
Yeah.
Anyway, go ahead with your non-metal.
All right, non-metal. This one's going way back, although it's a brand new album. So Aldo Nova. You may remember some old hits back in the 80s, and then he vanished off the map. And it took him a long, long time, 40 years? Is it? Almost 40 years.
Yeah.
To come back and actually come back and do an album. The thing that you listen to him for is his ability to write really great riffs, like rock and roll riffs, and his solos. I mean, they're not the most intricate, they're not crazy, but they're just perfect for whatever song he's doing. So I was really excited actually to listen to this album. This isn't the type of music I listen to, and I wasn't really an Aldo Nova fan, especially back then. But knowing what quality he can provide, I was excited to listen to it. I did think that sonically it lacked a little bit. it wasn't as big of a recording as I was expecting it to be.
Right.
You know, like in the mix and just in how everything was arranged. It just felt a little muffled and subdued.
I could see that.
Which I felt hurt some of the songs quite a bit. But still, it's a pity it took this long for him to return.
So yeah, I'm gonna jump in. I didn't know anything about Aldo Nova since like I first got MTV back in, I don't know, 82, 83, right? Fantasy was something they played. Martha Quinn played it every other video or something. And when you sent me this link, I was like, there's no way Aldo Nova is still around. I had no idea he still existed, but apparently, I mean, he still exists and he can still play. So I was pleasantly surprised when I put it on for sure. I love that it's a rock opera. That's the sort of thing that I've always been intrigued about, people who can put together, you know, full length thematic albums or concept albums or something like this. It's not easy.
No.
And I really, really agree with you on the solos, because I even made some notes about solos. So the first one, Hey Laddie Daddy, I guess that's how you pronounce it.
Yeah.
Crazy catchy solo. A little bit later on the way to the Psycho Ward, that guitar solo sounded like Steve Vai to me. It was crazy.
That's an incredible song. It's an instrumental.
Yeah.
And it's like solo all the way through with fantastic. It probably has some of the best riffs.
Right. I 100% agree.
The album.
But like you said, there are some not so great moments on it, because very shortly after that, when all is said and done, I couldn't get with it all. That was a little bit boring to me, I guess, or a little too slow, and maybe I'm just not a fan of those slowed down tunes, but that one didn't do much for me. But the whole album itself, I would listen to it again. I liked it.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying. You know, I think that the style of, or the actual recording itself let some of these songs down. I think that they could have been more dynamic. They could have been more enjoyable to listen to if that had been there. You know, what were your picks?
So I only had two on this one that I thought were standouts to me. The first one for sure, Hey Laddie Daddy, I guess that's how you say it. And then the Bitch in Black. And for a reason, it's very, to me, it was sort of popish, almost EDM-ish. And then the solo just blew me away again.
Yeah, great solo in that one. Mine were On the Way to the Psycho Ward, instrumental, but it was that, like I said, probably had the best riffs of the album.
For sure.
Say a Little Prayer. I like those type of songs. You don't.
No, actually, if I'm looking at my notes,
I can understand why that's not on there.
No, I have the word M-E-H written there. Nah.
Yeah, I enjoy those. So that was a pretty good one. And then Burn Like the Sun, that also is probably a pretty similar one in that style. That one, Burn Like the Sun, felt like it was more right from the 80s. But King of Deceit, just a great melody in that song. And
so very Journey-ish too, right?
Yeah.
Did you catch a Journey kind of vibe to it?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But I mean, Journey tells great stories.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm not knocking it, but I'm just looking at my notes, and that's one of the things I jotted down, that it's kind of a very Journey-ish sort of song.
Yeah, it's a song that you can really wrap your head around musically, the melody, and then even just the story that's being told.
Sure.
In it.
And I would say at the end of the day, this is definitely an album worth checking out, if for no other reason than to listen to something else besides fantasy from Aldo Nova. Yeah,
I mean, see what he's doing now, see what he's got, and I think you'll be surprised at least by a couple tracks.
Absolutely. So I guess if you've made it this far, once again, please smash that like button, send us comments, tell us what you think, send us suggestions. We're open to everything.
Yeah, we want to hear from you guys, and we definitely want you to like and subscribe and share. But mostly we would like to do some interactions with you and, have you let us know what you want us to check out next.
Sure. And what you think of the ones that we recommended. Go ahead and listen to them and tell us what you think.
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe you have a better take on it. So anyway, thanks for listening. Catch you soon.